Hi, guys.
Hi.
How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to our Oscars special.
Yeah, I'm really excited about this one.
Yeah, this is going to be a fun one. We thought we would do something a little bit different. Laura rolled up to the Oscars in her sunglasses with her Dutch brothers. Yeah.
I mean, that's life. What are you going to do?
Right?
That's the best.
It is. Absolutely. So in true Oscars fashion, Laura, who are you wearing?
Well, I'm wearing clothes. I didn't even wear sweatpants, which I really thought about.
I'm wearing clothes.
Tuxedo jacket and my little button-down shirt. And I actually have tuxedo pants on, the whole nine.
Wow. Very fancy.
Shoes and everything.
Sunglasses by
Ray-Ban, of course.
Good. Very good. Love it. Love it.
Nice.
I am wearing a dress from Charlotte Russe and jewels by Charming Charlie. Makeup by, let me think here, Morphe, Il Maquillage, Kylie Jenner lip gloss.
Very nice.
And Moxie eyelashes.
Oh, fancy. Oh, my thing is Helmut Lang.
Okay, there we go. Shout out.
Jacket. Calvin Klein tuxedo pants.
Wow,
They're mixed
snazzy.
match.
Nice.
You know,
Love it.
gotta represent.
Absolutely. Okay, great. Well, guys, we have a bit of a different episode for you this week. Laura and I have picked each celebrities. That was super bad grammar, but welcome to History of a Haunting podcast. Somewhere Aaron's brain is bleeding. We are going to be telling you 4 stories of ill-fated, iconic Hollywood celebrities, and a few of them haunt some locations. So we're really excited for that. This was Laura's amazing idea, and I was like, I love it. It's fucking perfect. Let's get dressed up and do the show. So, good job. What'd you do?
Nothing. Knocking stuff over. It's okay.
Sure.
Everything's fine.
Sure. Not a problem.
Don't worry.
Amen. Not a problem. So we got dressed up, and here we are on our Oscars special. We are going to talk to you about 4 different celebrities. We'll let you know who they are as we do them. I'm actually going to start first this week, but before I do, guys, let's, as always, cover our endless vocal prattling. We do have some upstates.
You're on it. Woo.
Thank God I don't actually present at the Oscars. That would be a horrible mistake. Updates and announcements that we have for you guys. The first one being that we are going to be sitting down and having a conversation about all things ufology with the lovely and wonderful Andrea Perrin. And I have done some social media promos for that, a TikTok, letting you guys know that she's going to be on our show. She's really, really wonderful. I've known her for a couple of months, and she has become a very dear friend of ours, so we're going to have her on the show, talk all things ufology. Now, most all of you guys know her from the Conjuring movies. The very first Conjuring film was about her family. She did grow up in the Harrisville farmhouse, and that's what she's most well known for. But what a lot of folks don't know is that she is a ufologist. So we're going to talk to her about all things UFOs, which Laura's very excited about.
I really am.
Yeah.
I love UFOs. Love them.
Yeah, it's going to be really, really cool. So that episode is actually going to be dropping on Saturday, April 9th. So be looking for that. And then we do want to remind you that Laura and I and a bunch of our friends are going to be doing a private paranormal investigation of Trans-Allegheny. Yes, we are going back, and this time I am bringing Laura because she has to experience this. So are you excited for this one?
I'm really excited. Yeah. I can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be so fun. It's going to be so fun. We've been buying new equipment, and we're really, really excited. So the next thing that I did want to let everybody know is we have 2 more locations that we're going to be doing investigations on this year. The one that I'm super excited for, I'm excited for Trans-Allegheny. I've been to Trans-Allegheny, but this next one is a huge, huge one. we are going to be going, and by we, I mean, well, Laura, you haven't really decided if you're going to one or the other.
It's a scheduling.
It's a scheduling thing. So anyway, when I say we, I mean and I'm dragging Laura to one of them. And again, a bunch of our friends, Spirits of the Southeast, Piedmont Paranormal, super excited to go to Pennhurst State School in Spring City, Pennsylvania. We're going to be doing that on June 18th. And this was our 1-year anniversary episode, and it was a really, really big one. Pennhurst, for those of you who are not aware, it was another... They called it a state school, but it was an asylum. And back in the 60s, a man named Bill Baldini did a shocking expose, a 5-night docuseries on network television, where he went in and filmed the actual conditions of the patients living inside Pennhurst. It led to lawsuits that spanned decades, and it eventually did lead to public outrage, which led to the closure of Pennhurst and others like it. We all know the story. We say it all the time. Overrun with patients, not enough staff, not enough funding, just sort of left there to kind of rot. And that was the same with Trans-Allegheny. It was the same with all of these places that we have talked about. So really excited to go to Pennhurst. We're going to be doing a private overnight of that. And then we're also going to be doing a private overnight in September of Brushy Mountain Penitentiary in Petros, Tennessee. So that's coming in September. So we've got a lot of really cool stuff on the books, a lot of really cool things to bring you guys. As always, we do a recap of every single location that we investigate. So St. Albans is going to be coming out soon, if it hasn't already by the time this drops, and it probably won't. So sometime next week. So we've got a recap of St. Albans, which is going to be a lot of fun. I'm going to show a lot of really fun information and evidence that was captured by us, some of it, and then the rest from the teams that we went with. Again, Piedmont Paranormal and Spirits of the Southeast, Donna and Connie. It was a really, really great night. That place is, I don't love it just because it's, and I was talking to Laura about this earlier, I don't know if it's power of suggestion or it's my empath abilities, but I was really glad to leave that building after that night, and I don't actually ever want to go back, and I'll tell you more about that in the episode. So that's all I have for EVPs. Laura, what did you have to tell them? Let me have a sip because my throat's getting kind of parched.
Well, we want to remind them about Dirt Days happening April 28th through May 1st down in Williamson, West Virginia. That's the awesome trail ride that goes through the Hatfield-McCoy Trail and all the history of that. And there's like a big festival party.
Oh, it's going to be amazing.
Miss it if you can.
Yeah, amazing.
If you can get down there, I would.
Yeah, amazing food. They've got a parade, fireworks. It's going to be really, really great. And then you can, rent these all-terrain vehicles or ATVs, as the kids are calling them, and just kind of romp around like the trails and the hills of West Virginia through the Blue Ridge Mountains, which it's going to be a ton of fun. So we're proud to be a sponsor of that. So.
Yes, and I can tell you, I was just ATVing around Guatemala, and it was fun as fuck.
Really?
So that is my
personal endorsement of, yeah.
I'm sure it's so much fun. Like, we weren't in mud and stuff, which would just make it more fun if you were like out on the trail.
Oh God, I don't even, I can't even imagine. It's going to be a great time.
I love that kind of stuff. It's always so much fun.
Yeah. So pre-sale tickets are good through, I believe, April 13th, I think. If you want to go ahead and visit, Tug Valley area CVB.com. Purchase your tickets, and then when you do, you get a goodie bag filled with all kinds of fun stuff from the sponsors, including your very own History of a Haunting koozie. So that's really the only reason you need to be going.
Right.
Yeah.
Worth the price of admission as is. Are you getting choked by your choker?
I'm not. No, it's just heavy. It's heavy. So I'm like, I have to crack my neck a couple of times. Anyway, so yeah, Dirt Days, guys, April 28th through May 1st, 2nd?
May 1st.
First. Yeah. So we're excited about all of that. We haven't done any EVPs in a while, so I was like, we got to catch these folks up. Beyond that, I think we're ready to go. Laura, why don't you tell them, and they saw the title of the episode anyway, and they can read the title card, but this is what we are covering today.
We are covering Mysterious Hollywood.
Yay!
Woo-hoo.
Oscars special. Go Oscars. Okay. I am actually going to start this one. We thought we'd mix it up a teeny tiny bit, and I can't find the button with my sources. There it is. I got it. My sources for both of my stories are wikipedia.com, vanityfair.com, housebeautiful.com, and thehollywoodhome.com. So I am excited for this one. Let me just try to see what I got here. My first story, I'm going to be covering Paul Byrne. And for those of you who don't know who he is, he was the husband of Jean Harlow. Certainly you guys have heard of Jean Harlow. She was the blonde bombshell of the 30s and 40s. 30s, I believe. And here they are. This is Paul Byrne, nice. And this is his wife, Jean Harlow, who was many years younger than him. Everybody was sort of like, what is happening here? But whatever, to each their own. So Paul Byrne was born in... he was born in Germany, and he was born Paul Levy on December 3rd in 1889. He was an American film director, a screenwriter, and producer for Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer. So, you know, the big lion roaring one. Everybody's seen that, but, you know, preceding their favorite movies. He did become an assistant to Irving Thalberg, who was one of the executive top guys at MGM. And he did help launch the career of Jean Harlow, whom he married in 1932. So he was born in, and Laura, I am going to butcher all of these German names, all of these German towns. Wandsbek, which was then a town in the Prussian province of Schleswig-Holstein. How'd I do?
I think it sounds great.
Okay. I mean, I know you're not like German and you speak German and all that, but I'm like, I don't know.
Some of my family's German. My last name's German.
Yeah.
But I don't, yeah, that's as much as I know.
Okay, great.
German beer is delicious.
That's about it.
And yeah.
Yeah. Krampus. Go Krampus. Okay. Basically, this area is now a district of the city of Hamburg. So he was one of 6 children of Julius and Henriette. I'm giving her a French inflection with that because why not? They were a Jewish couple, and his father worked as a clerk for a shipping company before opening a candy store. In 1898, his dad decided to move the family to the United States due to the rise of unemployment and anti-Jewish attitudes within Germany. So the family eventually...
Good call.
Right, yeah, smart. The family eventually settled in New York City, and his father died in 1908. In 1920, his mother drowned herself, possibly as a threat to keep her beloved son Paul from marrying, which sounds a little convoluted to me, but I can't seem to find the reason.
I know Jewish mothers can be intense, but that sounds like...
That sounds a little
over the top.
A little over the top, yeah. So he pursued a career in acting on the stage and studied at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. He later adopted the stage name Paul Byrne, but he soon realized that he had little aptitude for acting. Which there are a lot of people that do have little aptitude for acting that probably shouldn't be acting, I think. I'm not going to name any names, but Lindsay Lohan. So he pursued other aspects of theater production. He worked as a stage manager for a time before moving to Hollywood in the early 1920s. He was initially a film editor before he worked his way up to scenario writing and directing for United Artists and Paramount Pictures. Do you remember United Artists?
Mm-hmm. I do, actually.
Are they still around? I don't think they're still around.
I have no idea.
I don't either.
Think so.
Yeah,
old.
We are. We discussed this at length today. Anyway, this led to his working full-time as a producer for Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer, or MGM, which was the major studio of the time. Byrne eventually became the production assistant of Irving Thalberg, and then a producer on the MGM lot in his own right. In the 1920s, he fell in love with actress Barbara Lamar. She did not reciprocate his feelings, but the two remained close friends and confidants. He assisted her with her career, paid for her medical and funeral expenses, and was by her bedside when she died. He was also the godfather to her son, Don Gallery, and Jean Harlow was the child's godmother. So, I guess while he had been living in New York City, he had been living with a woman who became his common-law wife, and her name was Dorothy Millette. So they had met in Toronto, and their relationship began around 1911. Byrne financially supported Millette her whole entire life. She reportedly suffered from mental and emotional problems and ended up in a Connecticut sanatorium for a time. So, in 1930, he met Jean Harlow, shortly before the premiere of Hell's Angels, which is one of her more well-known movies. Mm-hmm. He had been instrumental in helping her career, as he was the only person who took her seriously as an actress. The two struck up a friendship and eventually began dating. They announced their engagement in June of 1932 and married on July 2nd, 1932. Real quick. None of these, let's be engaged for a few years while we find the right place and just really enjoy this. Throughout their relationship, however, Byrne was having an affair with his secretary, Irene Harrison. How do you do that?
Especially when
Jean Harlow is
the hottest chick at the time. Like,
yes.
And, I mean, honestly, he's not super attractive. Like, I get that he was powerful and seems like he was sugar daddying it around. But
sure, but I mean, let's have another look at him. Like, let's see. There we go.
Like, he's not ugly, but he's, he's older. He's receding hairline. Like, he's not,
I mean, he's okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it must have just kind of been the money. I can't imagine they had much in common, but at the same time, it was the 30s, and what do we fucking know? We're single. Right. What do we know?
Seems like he was a nice guy.
Yeah. I mean, however, besides the affair with his secretary. However, 2 months after marrying Jean Harlow on September 5th, Byrne was found dead from a gunshot wound to the head in their home on Easton Drive in Beverly Hills, California. This house was actually one that he had gifted to Harlow as a wedding present. He had sent her to her mother's to stay for a couple of days. So she was at her mother's when this occurred. His body was discovered by house staff who, rather than calling police, immediately contacted executives at MGM. So though his death was ultimately ruled a suicide by police, many, including some of Byrne's colleagues in the film industry, believe he was actually murdered and that the studio covered it up to save Harlow's career. So,
like insinuating that she did it?
No, it just would have looked in bad form that her husband killed himself.
Yeah, okay.
So, police did discover a note at the scene that read as follows: "Dearest dear, unfortunately, this is the only way to make good the frightful wrong I have done you and to wipe out my abject humiliation. I love you, Paul. You understand that last night was only a comedy." And it was signed by him. So the authorities viewed this as a suicide note. To police and before a grand jury, Harlow's only statement was that she knew nothing. Harlow was made an executor of her husband's estate by a Californian judge, and she never publicly spoke about the matter. She actually ended up dying in 1937 from, I believe it was kidney failure, I think. She was young too. She was only in her really mid-30s when she died. So 2,000 people attended Byrne's funeral, held on September 9th, 1932, at the Grace Chapel in Inglewood Park Cemetery. Conrad Nagel delivered the eulogy, whoever that is. Good job, buddy. Also, guys, you're going to understand shortly why I'm talking about this man, because I'm getting to it. I swear. They're probably like, what the fuck? Byrne was cremated and his ashes were interred in the Golden West Mausoleum at Inglewood Park Cemetery. So remember the first wife, the common law wife, who had been in a sanatorium, Dorothy Millette. She traveled to Los Angeles in September of 1932, where she reportedly visited Byrne on the night of his death. Her body was later found in the Sacramento River 2 days after he died. It was later determined that she had committed suicide by jumping from the Delta King steamboat.
Wow.
It's just, I can't even imagine a life like this. Hollywood or no, like, it's just so, I don't know. Anywho, so in 1960, an investigation into his death was reopened in 1960. There was a screenwriter named Ben Hecht who questioned the official verdict of Ben's death, causing renewed interest in the case. He suggested that Byrne was murdered by an unnamed woman and that the investigation into Byrne's death was a suicide whitewash. Hecht went on to say that the explanation of Byrne's suicide, quote, would be less a black eye for their biggest movie-making heroine, Jean Harlow. It might crimp her box office allure to have her blazoned as a wife who couldn't hold her husband. So, cool for that. The article prompted the Los Angeles County District Attorney at the time, William B. McKesson, to reopen the case. But McKesson later closed it, stating, "When I ordered the record check, I assumed Hecht was a responsible reporter. It now appears that he was apparently peddling a wild and unconfirmed rumor as fact." So there were more theories, like this Irvin Thalberg, that was like one of the heads of MGM, had been tampering with evidence, that Louis B. Mayer had said that the case would have to be ruled a suicide because of impotence, meaning that he couldn't satisfy Harlow, like it was his physical problems with the marriage and that he was embarrassed and that was the reason for the letter. It was all just to kind of save her career. So in the end, majority of people tend to think that because Dorothy Millet, the first common law wife, committed suicide 2 days after his death, a lot of people tend to think that she had something to do with it. But she was already
suspicious.
It does. Yeah. And she was already mentally troubled. And he had taken care of her for at least a decade. So, right. I don't know. So, after he died, obviously, Harlow moved out of the home. She sold the home to, basically the house changed hands a couple of times. And in 1963, it was sold to celebrity hairstylist Jay Sebring, who a year later...
Shut the fuck up! That's awesome. Okay.
Who a year later began dating aspiring actress Sharon Tate. Though the couple eventually split, they did remain extremely close friends until tragically on the night of August 8th, 1969, they were murdered by the members of the Manson family cult. And while the horrific events of that night did not take place at the Harlow Burnhouse, an alleged interview with Sharon Tate from the year before her death suggests a chilling connection to the house. In 1970, Fate magazine published an article titled "Sharon Tate's Preview of Murder," which included an interview between Tate and a journalist by the name of Dick Kleiner. In the interview, she recalls an eerie encounter that happened one night while she was staying alone at Jay Sebring's house, which was the former Harlow Burnhouse. She was trying to sleep in Jay's master bedroom. Overwhelmed with an uneasy feeling of a strong, unseen presence watching her, she jumped at every noise. She was super creeped out and she laid in bed trying to sleep with the lights on. Suddenly, she said an apparition of a creepy little man with a mustache and receding hairline scuttled into the bedroom. Sharon recognized the ghost to be of Paul Byrne. He totally ignored her and seemed more intent on his mission to find some unknown thing. So she quickly threw on her robe and left the room in a hurry, only to find a more frightening sight on the staircase leading down to the first floor. About halfway down the staircase, she saw a ghostly form who was tied to the banister post with its throat cut. Racing past this horrible scene, she hurried into the living room, trying to find where Jay kept his liquor, as she was feeling the need for a drink. I don't blame her. When she couldn't find anything, she suddenly got a strong urge to push on one of the bookcases, which revealed the sought-after bar. Shaking with fright by this time, she poured herself a drink to steady her nerves. She suddenly got another urge to start picking at and tearing away the wallpaper along the base of the bar, and it revealed a solid copper base that had been wallpapered over. So she went back up to bed. The alcohol, I believe they said it was whiskey, had calmed her enough. She went back up to bed. She went back up the stairs. That ghostly scene of whatever with its throat cut tied to the banister was still there, which is interesting.
Right, considering how they died.
It's interesting considering how they died, but it's interesting that it was still there. Like, she saw it when she came down the stairs. She went to the bar. She looked all around. She finally found the bar. She goes in the bar. She pours herself a drink. She drinks the drink. She picks the wallpaper. That's time. That's like 15 minutes at least. Right. She goes back out, and that apparition of this person tied to the banister is still there. That's interesting. They generally are just like...
back. I mean, we don't know.
Well, she's coming back. Come back. So she went back to bed. She went into Jay Sebring's room, and Paul Byrne, who everybody believes was the ghost of Paul Byrne, was gone. Though Tate's family and friends vehemently deny she had ever had any such premonition, the article has led many to believe that perhaps the ghost of Paul Byrne returned to the home as a warning of what was to come. And that is one of the creepiest stories of Hollywood ghosts that I have ever heard. And that is the story of Paul Byrne. Yeah. Ta-da.
All right. Woo-hoo.
Yay.
Good job.
Thank you. Thank you.
I did not see that twist coming.
You didn't?
Totally surprised.
Yay. I love that. Cool. I can't believe you haven't heard that story. I thought I had told you. I was like, I think I ruined this for her. Okay.
No, you didn't. Good job.
Mm-hmm. All right. You're up next, and just give all your sources for everybody.
All right, you got it.
Hold on, something's not working. Damn it. Just kidding. Technical difficulties. We'll be right back. Here we go. Okay.
All right. Sources for today are Esquire.com, Women'sDay.com, AllThat'sInteresting.com, Women'sHealth.com, TMZ.com, and TheCut.com.
Hey, the button worked this time. Yay!
Hey, there you go.
Okay, and
right, so I'm going to cover the death of Natalie Wood.
Yay!
Yay!
Love it! Miss Natalie Wood, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh, she's beautiful.
She is beautiful, yeah. She is beautiful. I think most of our generation does know who Natalie Wood is. Honestly, I only know her from Miracle on 34th Street. That's it. I've never seen anything else. She was
you
in
never
West Side.
saw the original West Side?
No. I was just going to ask you. She was in West Side Story, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, no.
Yeah. Rebel Without a Cause? No?
Mm-mm.
Nothing?
I knew she was in those, but the only one I've ever seen is Miracle on 34th Street. When she was a little kid.
Yeah, she was very little.
Really little, yeah.
All right, so...
Okay.
Hollywood starlet Natalie Wood was terrified of water, but supposedly took a dinghy out in the middle of the night when she drowned in 1981. Investigators fear her death was no accident. Before her untimely death, Natalie Wood was an Academy Award-nominated actress who was in some of the most famous films of all time. Miracle on 34th Street when she was only 8.
8, yes. She was little.
Right.
Yeah.
When she was a teenager, she earned her first Oscar nomination. Critics and fans alike would say that Wood was the silver screen symbol of a woman in transition. Few stars had ever made the successful leap from the hurdles of child stardom.
Oh, I get it. I was like, what?
On-screen roles for adults. You're like, what?
Yeah, I was like, woman in transition. What does that mean? I get it now. Child actor, I get it. Okay.
Wood was so talented and beloved that she was nominated for 3 Oscars before she turned 25.
Oh shit, really? I didn't know that about her.
Her larger-than-life presence on camera was only matched by the glamorous off-screen life she'd made for herself. The San Francisco-born star had truly taken Hollywood by storm. She worked with American legends such as John Ford and Elia Kazan. Her romantic conquests included the likes of Elvis Presley.
Oh, really?
Before she ultimately, tied the knot with Robert Wagner in 1957.
I have always loved Robert Wagner. I loved him. My favorite show used to be Heart to Heart. Do you remember that show? In the 80s with Stephanie. He was with Stephanie Powers. I loved Heart to Heart. I don't know why. I was like 10.
I don't either.
8 or 9.
Right? That's kind of a boring adult show.
It is, but for some reason I was just like, I love this show. I think it's great. Well, that and Dynasty.
All right.
Dynasty had all the jewels.
Yeah, of course. The little Falcon Crest.
Oh, yeah.
So Natalie Wood lived the American dream, though it would tragically devolve into a Hollywood nightmare. It all came crashing down during a fateful weekend in Southern California. So Miss Wood was only 43 years old when her body was found floating off the coast of Catalina Island.
Jesus, younger than me.
Yeah.
I can't go on a boat to Catalina. Wow.
No.
Sorry, I brought you as my date to the Oscars.
Aboard a yacht named Splendor the previous night with her husband, Robert Wagner, co-star Christopher Walken,
Love him,
and a boat captain, Dennis Davern. She had disappeared overnight. The discovery of her body only yielded more questions than answers, though her death was initially classified as an accident and probable drowning in the ocean. Natalie Wood's death certificate would later be updated to drowning and other undetermined factors. Her widowed husband, currently 89 years old, is now considered a person of interest.
This has haunted him his whole life. Yeah. Basically, like most of his whole adult life.
Yeah.
No.
So what really happened aboard the Splendor that night in 1981 remains a mystery. Certain facts, however, remain alarmingly undeniable. So Natalie Wood was born Natalia, Nikolavna Zakharenko on July 20th, 1938 in San Francisco to an alcoholic father and stage mother.
Cool.
Yeah, according to Town & Country, studio executives changed the young starlet's name shortly after she started acting.
They couldn't say her name either.
Right? Yeah.
They're like, fuck this. We're not doing that. Wood. Nice and easy. Yeah. That's your name now.
So she became the breadwinner for the family, obviously really young when she was, making, was it?
Tons of money.
Miracle on 32nd Street. Yeah.
34th Street. You're 2 blocks away.
So Wood quickly grew into professional, memorizing not only her lines, but also everyone else's. She was dubbed One Take Natalie. She was nominated for an Oscar for her role in Rebel Without a Cause when she was a teenager. But her love life was rocky. So she had affairs with both the director, Nicholas Ray, and co-star Dennis Hopper. She also dated, like I said, Elvis Presley before she met Robert Wagner at 18.
Holy shit. Also, I will say right now, because I get this question a lot, no, I am not related to Dennis Hopper in any way, shape, or form.
No.
But I do get that a lot.
That's disappointing.
It is disappointing.
So her and Robert Wagner got married in 1957 in Scottsdale, Arizona.
Stop it!
Nope. And guess where they had their... So they got married in a church in Scottsdale, United Methodist, I think. And then guess where they had their reception? The Valley Ho.
Stop it! You're kidding.
Oh, I'm not.
My mom is gonna die
because we're both from Arizona. Obviously, she knows what I'm talking about.
Yeah, and my mom worked as the executive director of housekeeping at the Valley Ho for 10 years.
Yes, and she never told you that.
She didn't know that. She's gonna die.
She knows she's gonna die.
No, I'm pretty sure. She loves Natalie Wood. She's going to watch this episode, and she doesn't really watch our shit. She watches your part, but then when it gets to mine, she's like, and that's enough. But she loves Natalie Wood, and I am positive 98% she did not know this.
It's true.
Their reception was at the Valley Ho. Oh my god. Go on.
Yep.
This is great.
Even stayed there.
Oh, stop. In the presidential suite, because I've seated there. I've stayed in the presidential suite.
I'm sure it was that. I have no
idea. Oh my god. I'm going to tell everybody I stayed in the room Natalie Wood stayed in when my mom was MOD and I was having friends come spend the weekend with me.
So, they did get divorced 5 years later. They did, but they ended up remarrying back each other in 1972.
Yeah.
So though Wood's career began to wane, mostly because she, I think, wanted to stay home with her child.
Same.
But she did act opposite Oscar winner Christopher Walken.
I love him. He's a little, but I really like him. It's his voice.
So her and Christopher Walken became fast friends. And there was a lot of suspicion that they were boning.
Yeah. But it sounds like she became fast friends with like everybody she met. Really?
True, right?
Yeah.
She was supposed to be,
Yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying. Throwing that out there.
Sure. You're like, bone it.
So, quote, it wasn't like they were lovey-dovey on the set or anything like that. But they just had a current about them and electricity, end quote, said the film's first assistant director, David McGiffert.
It happens. I've got that with a lot of folks.
Maybe it's just you.
Maybe it is just me.
Thanksgiving weekend of 1981, when their alleged relationship arguably became a problem, Wood and Wagner had invited Walken to join their sailing trip around Catalina Island. And that's when shit hit the fan.
That's when it all went south.
Pretty much. So what happened on the evening of November 28th, 1981 is unclear. Unfortunately, what is clear is that the authorities recovered Wood's body the following morning, floating a mile away from the Splendor.
Oh my God.
And a small dinghy was found beached nearby. The investigators' report chronicled the events as follows. Wood went to bed first. Wagner, having stayed up chatting with Walken, later went to join her, but noticed that both she and the dinghy were gone. Wood's body was found around 8 a.m. the next morning in a flannel nightgown, down jacket, and socks.
The boat was anchored, right? It wasn't just, it was anchored at like
the yacht was, yeah.
The yacht was anchored. Okay. That's what I thought. I've heard the story, but as you're telling it, I'm like tiny specifics are coming back.
Yeah, according to biography, the chief medical examiner in the LA County Coroner's Office announced her death was an accidental drowning. The autopsy showed Wood had multiple bruises on her arms and an abrasion on her left cheek.
Okay.
The coroner explained Wood's bruises as superficial and probably sustained at the time of drowning.
It's possible, especially for a body floated a mile away. There's, rocks there, and she could have just banged herself on as she was floating.
Or when she fell out of the dinghy or whatever.
Right. But dead bodies don't bruise. So there's that.
Yeah. It had to happen pre-drowning.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
But in 2011, Captain Dennis Davern admitted that he left out key details regarding the night's events.
Oh my God.
And as the years went on, Wood's loved ones only had more questions. Davern said the weekend was filled with arguments and that the main issue was the glaring flirtation between Walken and Wood. The arguments started the day before, said Davern. The tension was going through the whole weekend. Robert Wagner was jealous of Christopher Walken. Davern said Wood and Walken spent hours at a Catalina Island bar before Wagner showed up furious.
I do remember this part, yeah.
Yeah. All four then went to dinner at Doug's Harbor Reef restaurant, where they shared champagne, 2 bottles of wine, and cocktails.
She'd been drinking, yeah.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like all three of them were just.
They were all, yeah.
Like between three people, champagne, usually you order a bottle. Mm-hmm. 2 bottles of wine, and then additional cocktails, and they were drinking already? Like, yeah.
I've had those kind of dinners, and but I don't have them near the ocean or on a boat when I have to like get on a boat and go somewhere. No, dry land. Then just trip over the earth.
Employees couldn't recall whether it was Wagner or Walken, but one of them threw a glass at the wall at some point.
Oh.
At around 10 p.m., they used their dinghy to get back to the Splendor.
Oh, God, that would make me sick. Sorry, go on.
Yeah. Accounts have changed over the years. Walken did admit to investigators that he and Wagner had a small beef, but that it regarded the couple's prolonged film shoot-related absences from their child. Though reports initially stated that the fight died down, Devern claimed otherwise in 2011. He said that everybody continued drinking when back on board and that Wagner was enraged. He allegedly broke a wine bottle over a table and screamed at Walken, "Are you trying to fuck my wife?"
Whoa.
Yeah. Davern remembered retreating to his cabin at this point, and that was the last I saw of him. Wagner and Wood returned to their room too when a shouting match ensued. Most ominously, Davern said he later heard the fight continue on deck before everything went silent. When Davern checked on them, he only saw Wagner, who said Natalie is missing. Wagner told Davern to go look for her and then said the dinghy is missing too. The captain knew Natalie was deathly afraid of water.
Yeah.
And doubted she'd taken the dinghy out alone. He also said Wagner didn't want to turn the boat's floodlights on nor call for help because he didn't want to draw any attention to the situation.
Okay.
Which is, your fucking wife is gone and you don't...
I would be ringing all the bells, turning on all the lights.
Right. That does not fucking make sense to me.
It doesn't. And I hope he addresses it at some point that you're going to tell me about soon.
Key witness Marilyn Wayne, who was in a boat 80 feet away that night, told sheriff's investigators she and her boyfriend heard a woman screaming around 11 p.m. "Somebody help, please help me, I'm drowning," the cries implored until 11:30.
Oh my God.
Their call to the harbor master went unanswered, and with a party on another boat nearby, the pair concluded it may have been a joke. As for Wagner's hesitance to call anyone, he eventually did at 1:30 a.m.
2.5 hours after they heard a woman scream.
Way later. So this, among other things, left Wood's sibling Lena confused. Quote, "She would have never left the boat like that, undressed in just a nightgown," she said.
Yeah.
But that's exactly how her body was found mere hours later. So the investigation has continued through the decades, however, with new details, questions, and suspicions arising as recently as 2018.
Wow.
So the case was reopened in 2011 when Davern admitted that he lied.
Surely there's charges that could be brought against that fucking dude.
For lying?
Yeah.
Well, he alleges, that Wagner was responsible. But since that bombshell report, Wagner has refused to talk to authorities. However, Walken has cooperated fully with investigators.
Still to this day, essentially?
Yeah. He is seen on... Okay, I'll get to this in a little bit. But we'll talk about it. Okay. So according
I have so many fucking questions.
According to the BBC, Wood's death certificate obviously was amended to drowning and undetermined factors.
Sure.
So in 2018, they did name Robert Wagner officially as a person of interest. So, quote, "As we've investigated the case over the last 6 years, I think he's more of a person of interest now," said LA County Sheriff's Department Lieutenant John Carina.
Yikes.
Quote, "I mean, we know now that he was the last person to be with Natalie before she disappeared. I haven't seen him tell the details that match all the other witnesses in this case," he added. "I think he's he's changed his story a little bit, and his version of events just don't add up. Investigators have made multiple attempts to speak with him to no avail. We would love to talk to Robert Wagner, said Karina. He's refused to talk to us. We can never force him to talk to us. He has rights, and he cannot talk to us if he doesn't want to.
Yeah, because he's only a person of interest.
Right.
The semantics in a case like this matter, because a person of interest, okay, sure. A suspect, that's vastly different.
Right.
Yeah.
So the incident was most recently explored in HBO's documentary, What Remains Behind.
Ooh.
Yeah. However, that is basically a vehicle. Robert Wagner does speak on that.
Does he?
In that? Yes. And it's done by Natalie Wood's daughter, who was raised by both her biological father and a lot by Robert Wagner.
She had a child by another man. That's right.
Right. So she married in between the times that her and Wagner, when they were divorced.
Right. And he kind of helped her raise the girl. Yeah.
Yeah. And she's super close with him. And so she is talking about all this stuff about her mom. And, you know, of course, they talk about what happens, but it's basically a vehicle for Robert Wagner to publicly deny
any wrongdoing,
any responsibility without actually having to deal with a journalist or, you know what I mean, that kind of stuff.
Wow.
So Walken doesn't really talk about the events that night, but quote, he does give it. I do have a quote from him. He says that anybody there saw the logistics of the boat the night where we were, that it was raining, and they would know exactly what happened. That's what he said in a 1997 interview.
Oh, that's been a while.
Quote, you hear about things happening to people. They slip in the bathtub, they fall down the stairs, step off the curb in London because they think that the cars come the other way, and they die. Meanwhile, Karina, the police officer, he maintains that the tragedy was likely no accident. He said she got in the water somehow, and I don't think she got in the water by herself.
Doesn't sound like it. Right.
In the end, Robert Wagner's refusal to cooperate is legal and may simply stem from a desire not to revisit the tragedy.
Yeah.
Natalie Wood's death may have been caused intentionally, but the truth is we'll probably never know for sure.
Nope.
But after all that, it would be no surprise if her spirit was haunting the boat, and that's precisely what the current owner of the yacht, Ron Nelson, says is happening.
Stop it! I love it.
So he claims that he has had several spooky accidents while on the boat and felt an unsettling presence in the bedroom.
Ew.
Quote,
not where you want an unsettling presence.
No. So he said he's been hurt on the boat twice mysteriously, just weird falls. And it was like his feet just came out from under him and he fell.
And it's the actual boat.
Clumsy.
The Splendor or whatever.
It's the yacht.
It's the yacht. Yeah. Okay.
Mm-hmm. I don't know if it still has the same name, but it is the same boat.
Sure. Okay.
He also felt an unsettling presence in the bedroom while on a trans-Pacific trip to Hawaii. Quote, something sat down on the bed and then left, he said.
Oh my God.
Nelson was frightened enough to enlist the help of 2 Hawaiian priests to exorcise the ghost from the vessel, but it didn't seem to work, and now the haunted owner is looking to sell.
Oh my God. I will give him $10 right now.
Right. Of course, a more cynical person might say that he's just using that kind of as a bargaining chip, given that the Splendor had actually, at that point, had recently suffered serious damage following a hurricane.
Oh.
But
okay.
Who knows? Supposedly, Miss Wood is chilling out.
I mean, if she is a ghost and haunting that yacht, can you blame her?
No. I mean, I really can't.
Not really. No. Wow.
No matter what, it seems like it was just a really unfortunate ending, regardless of how it all went down.
For sure.
And we lost a great talent. She was amazing.
She was so beautiful. Let's look at her again. She's really pretty.
She was beautiful.
Wasn't she beautiful?
And just known to be super, like, kind and nice and smart. And, you know, she was... the
whole package.
Yep. She had it going on.
I mean, there are so... I can relate, you know? There are just so few of us left in the world.
Yes, it's very hard. Just to be me.
It's just so hard. It must be such a joy for you to be friends with me, though.
It really is, you know.
I mean, the sunshine,
tears to my eyes.
I know. You're like, that's why I've got to wear the shades. I love it. That was excellent, Laura. That was really, really good.
Oh, well, thank you.
I love that. Okay, guys, we will be right back in just 2 shakes of a lamb's tail, and I will do my second story. And I would say after these messages, but a glitch ruined where our promos were, so we have none. But I certainly encourage all of you to check out Soul Waves, Erin Kathleen Bush, certified Reiki healer. We will get that one back, I swear to God. But anyway, Laura and I will be right back. Okay, see, that was super fast, guys. So fast. So now is my turn, is my second story. And I am going to be covering Joan Crawford. Yay.
Such a good one.
She's a good one. Yeah, she's a really good one. Let's have a look at her. She's just so on our break, I was like trying to taking selfies and trying to do my best Joan Crawford bitch. So I'll post those, but she had it. She really did. Yeah. So I already gave my sources, all my sources for both stories I gave at the beginning when I covered Paul Byrne. So let's talk a little bit about Joan Crawford, who was born March 23rd, 1904 as Lucille Faye LeSueur. And shout out to my dear friend Cher for teaching me how to properly say that last name, because it's spelled Lesueur. So to me it looks like LeSueur, but no, it's LeSueur. So Cher, thank you very much for teaching me how to properly say that last name. So she was born March 23rd, 1904 to 1908. There are conflicting accounts as to when she was actually born. So somewhere thereabouts. And then she did die on May 10th, 1977. She was an American actress that started as a dancer in a traveling theatrical company before debuting on Broadway. Crawford was
kind of like a vaudeville or something?
Kind of, yeah. So she was signed to a motion picture contract by Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer in 1925. So she's part of that whole Paul Byrne, Jean Harlow biz.
Golden Age of Hollywood.
The Golden Age of Hollywood. She kind of took a different way into it, which I thought was really interesting, and I didn't know this about her until I had started to research this. So she was initially frustrated by the size and the quality of her parts. So she began a campaign of self-publicity and became nationally known as a flapper by the end of the 1920s.
Good for her.
Yeah, absolutely. One of my actual favorite quotes ever, and I knew it was from Joan Crawford, but I didn't know that it was in her 1920s flapper days that she said this, was, "If you want the girl next door, go next door." And that is absolutely something that I have resonated with my whole entire life. If you want the girl next door, go next door. And I've always known it was Joan Crawford, but I didn't know that this was a phrase that she had coined when she was a flapper.
Children.
Was that Zayd? Or the cat?
I don't even know. No, that was definitely a child that came in the house.
Oh, okay. I saw your door, oh, okay. I missed a lot. I was reading. So I was like, oh, should I pause it?
Sorry.
I paused it for a hot minute. No, it's fine. Look, we record at home. We have families, guys. This happens. So, anyway, it's just one of my favorite quotes of all times.
I love it.
Yeah, these rags to riches stories that she became known for, which was a hardworking young woman who finds romance and financial success. She became known for these kinds of roles. And through that, because they were well received by Depression era audiences and were very popular with women. So she became one of Hollywood's most prominent movie stars and one of the highest paid women in the United States, which I thought was really cool. Yeah. her films began losing money, and by the end of the 1930s, so it didn't last long, so maybe a decade. By the end of the 1930s, she was labeled box office poison. So after an absence of nearly 2 years from the screen, Crawford staged a comeback by starring in Mildred Pierce, for which she won an Academy Award for Best Actress. In 1955, she became involved with the Pepsi-Cola Company through her marriage to company president Alfred Steele. After his death in 1959, she was elected to fill his vacancy on the board of directors, but was forcibly retired in 1973 when she turned 65. So,
I didn't know that.
You didn't know that? You didn't know that she was married to the president of Pepsi? Have you seen Mommy Dearest?
Yes.
Yes. I love that movie. I love that movie. It's terrified me. And really made me appreciate my mother more. But so they mention it. They talk a little bit about, and show a little bit about her marriage to this Alfred Steele in Mommy Dearest. But yeah, I didn't know that she had taken over for him when he died.
Right. I didn't know she was on the board of directors.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Didn't know that either. Forcibly retired at the age of 65, not the best, but it is what it is. And that happened in 1973. So he died in 59. So she was on the board of directors of Pepsi for a long time.
I would like to be forcibly retired.
Right? Can somebody please just forcibly retire me? She continued acting in film and television regularly throughout the 60s when her performances became fewer. After the release of the horror film Trog in 1970, which I've never heard of that ever, she retired from the screen. Following a public appearance in 1974, after which unflattering photographs were published, Crawford withdrew entirely from public life. She became more and more reclusive until her death in 1977. Now, she married 4 times. Her first 3 husbands, those marriages ended in divorce, and the last one ended with the death of her husband, Albert Steele. She adopted 5 children, one of whom was actually reclaimed by his birth mother. Crawford's relationships with her 2 older children, Christina and Christopher, were acrimonious, and Crawford disinherited the 2. And after her death, Christina wrote a tell-all memoir called Mommy Dearest. And that is where I first learned of Joan Crawford. I must have been about, I don't know. I was around 10 to 12 years old when I saw Mommy Dearest. So Crawford adopted her first child, a daughter, in 1940. Because she was single, California law actually prevented her from adopting within the state, so she actually arranged the adoption through an agency in Las Vegas. The child was temporarily called Joan until Crawford changed her name to Christina. Now, Crawford married actor Philip Terry on July 21st, 1942, after a 6-month courtship. Together, the couple adopted a son whom they named Christopher, but the child's birth mother came and wanted him back. So the couple then adopted another boy who they named Philip Terry Jr. However, after the marriage ended with Philip Terry, in 1946, Joan Crawford changed that child's name to Christopher Crawford, and that's the little brother that's referenced in Mommy Dearest and that you see in the movie. Yeah, I was like, how do you just randomly change a kid's name a couple years after the fact?
Right.
I mean, the rich really are different, Laura. In 1947, Crawford adopted 2 more children, twin girls, whom she named Cindy and Kathy. The children were adopted from Tennessee Children's Home Society, an orphanage/child trafficking unit operated by Georgia Tann, a source used by many childless Hollywood stars to adopt, until Tann's discovery and death erupted in infamy in 1952. I have never heard about this story. I was like, jot that down for a future true crime case. So in November of 1978, Christina Crawford published Mommy Dearest, which contained allegations allegations that her late adoptive mother was emotionally and physically abusive to Christina and her brother Christopher because she chose fame and her career over parenthood. Hi, Eddie. He's into my story. Many of Joan Crawford's friends and co-workers, including Van Johnson, Anne Blythe, Myrna Loy, Katharine Hepburn, Cesar Romero, Gary Gray, not to be confused with F. Gary Gray, of our generation, Douglas Fairbanks and Douglas Fairbanks Jr., who was Joan Crawford's first husband, and Crawford's two younger daughters. All of these people denounced the book, categorically denying any abuse. Others, including Helen Hayes, June Allison, and Vincent Sherman, stated that they had witnessed some form of abusive behavior. For example, Hayes and Sherman both stated in their autobiographies that they felt Joan was too strict of a parent. Allison stated in her autobiography that she witnessed Joan put Christina in time out and did not let her go to a friend's birthday party as a punishment. However, these people never stated they witnessed any outright abuse. And quite honestly, like, what parent doesn't do that today?
Like, seems pretty standard.
I mean, Corey was in timeout a lot in the beginning before we had his diagnosis. He was in timeout a lot. I never...
Timeout be like that, man.
Timeout be like that. I'm telling you what, I would rather have timeout than be spanked, honestly.
Right?
But,
yeah, like, that doesn't even... Especially for that time.
Exactly.
You know, it was much more common to
spank
your kids with. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It was common for us. We were spanked.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So the book Mommy Dearest became a bestseller and was made into the 1981 film Mommy Dearest, starring Faye Dunaway as Crawford. So on July 20th of 1998, one of Joan Crawford's other adopted children, one of the twins, Kathy, filed a lawsuit against her sister Christina for defamation of character. She said in her lawsuit that during the 20th anniversary book tour of Mommy Dearest, Christina publicly claimed to interviewers that Kathy and her twin sister Cynthia were not biological sisters and that their adoption was never legal. So Kathy stated that neither claim by Christina was true and attached copies of her and her sister's birth certificates and adoption documentation to the lawsuit. The lawsuit was later settled out of court for $5,000 plus court costs in 98. Isn't a lot of money even in 98. So during the filming of Mommy Dearest, Faye Dunaway has always been widely known as a method actor, and she really gets into the parts and she really researches the characters she's playing, especially if they're actual real life characters. So Dunaway was and is allegedly challenging on film sets. But by her own admission, Mommy Dearest was especially difficult for her to film. She said, a week into production, the role really began troubling me. It's difficult to spend the day inside a character that is so dark and not easy to shed the emotions, like the costumes and the makeup at the end of the day. And she had written Faye Dunaway had written this in her own autobiography. Laura. What is that? I've had too much wine. Just kidding. You can never have too much wine.
I'm like, that's the first time I think I've ever heard you say that.
I'm kidding. You can never have too much wine. She wrote this in her own autobiography. And she's continued that at night I would go home and feel Crawford in the room with me, this tragic, haunted soul just hanging around. A chilly presence, a coming in and sitting on the window ledge sort of thing. So during the filming of the movie, apparently neither star, it seemed, could rest. So That Dunaway was being haunted, literally, by Crawford began to appear in media reports. Of her voice, the Los Angeles Times wrote, Dunaway appears to have borrowed it for 12 weeks from the ghost of Joan Crawford. As if Crawford somehow wanted it back, people reported another mysterious event on the movie set, when Dunaway suddenly lost her voice during a screaming scene, which she later revealed to be her infamous no-wire hangers tirade. Other strange occurrences, noted the magazine, included Crawford's gowns going missing and an entire reel of film that came out mysteriously blank and had to be reshot.
Oh, that's the kind of shit that happens,
right?
On investigations.
1,000%. I hate it. But yes. So, strangest of all was Dunaway's increasingly uncomfortable sympathy for Joan Crawford. She said, quote, she gave everything to this little girl, wonderful Christmases, wonderful parties, and judging by my research, a great deal of love. And then to be so rebuffed and so coolly treated by this little Scandinavian girl. Racist. It was understandable to me that Joan did have areas that could erupt into anger and fury. And I thought, no. No. Also racist. This little Scandinavian girl. Fuck off.
Damn towhead.
I mean, shit. So yeah, I was like, that was yuck. But perhaps Dunaway was relating too much and getting defensive. Filming had gotten really intense, wrote one of her co-stars in her book, Mommy Dearest Diary, about what it was like to film the movie. And, so there was a scene where Crawford forcefully cuts off her daughter's hair. And I remember this. Oh, God, I remember this because I just kept thinking the shears were so big that she used, the scissors were so big to cut off this little girl's hair. And I was little when I watched the movie that I just remember thinking, oh my God, we don't have any scissors like that in here, do we? Not that my mother would ever do that, but the scissors were just, the fucking blades were like this long. They were super fucking huge. It was just a really scary scene for me. So in this scene where she forcefully cuts off Christina's hair, on the third increasingly violent take, the 9-year-old actor, Mara Hobel, ran off the set in tears crying, she stabbed me. Like, I guess Faye Dunaway started really getting into the goddamn role in a weird way. Right. So, Dunaway's autobiography skips the scissors part, but describes the scene as like too many scenes in the movie, violent and chilling with no boundaries and no modulation. Apparently Dunaway did feel so badly that the next day she bought the child a present. Okay, sure. That's probably what Joan Crawford did for Christina. Anywho, the lines between Crawford and Dunaway were blurring, apparently during the filming of this movie, according to people who were on set and watched it all. But if Crawford's spirit lingered to tell her version of events, the ghost failed really spectacularly, because Mommy Dearest premiered in September of 81, and the film was so far from the prestige that it promised that audiences that watched it erupted into hysterical laughter. And the reviews were brutal. Roger Ebert. Why can't I say the word Roger? I want to say Rogert. Roger Ebert. His review began, I can't imagine who would want to subject themselves to this movie.
Wow.
Yeah.
Fucking intense.
Mm-hmm. So rather than the Oscars, the movie actually swept the 1981 Razzies. Did you know the Razzies had been around that long? I didn't.
But that's funny.
I didn't either, yeah. 9 years later, it won their award for Worst Movie of the Decade.
It's kind of a classic now.
It's a cult classic. Yes, absolutely. Christina Crawford denounced it, and Dunaway retreated to England in its wake. Mommy Dearest became a cult classic. No wire hangers, ubiquitous, and Crawford an icon of camp that still reigns even 40 years after her so-called fall from grace. Maybe the ghost of Crawford had her way after all, because this movie about her was just panned horribly. So the house that she owned, and I'm not going to give the address. I have it here in my notes. I'm not going to give the address because it is a private residence. You guys are welcome to Google search Joan Crawford's house and the fucking thing will come up, I promise. But I'm not going to give the address here in the episode. But her daughter Christina wrote a damning tell-all of her abusive childhood with her adoptive mother titled Mommy Dearest. And in the book, which I didn't read the book, I only saw the movie. She claimed that her childhood home in Brentwood was haunted by malevolent spirits, that whenever something strange happened or a ghost appeared, she'd fearfully try telling her mother, which only led to further vindictive punishment. However, years later, when the house was sold, the then owners began to experience odd fires, breaking out spontaneously and randomly in the house, but most of them in Crawford's old bedroom and on the wall where her bed was up against. Which is...
sounds like some fucked up wiring, but...
Right.
Like if it's all coming out of one fucking spot, it sounds like you have a fucking issue.
Exactly. Well, I mean, and it wasn't just one spot. It was all over the house, but in this room, it was against the wall.
It was worse, yeah.
Yeah. So they also heard children's voices crying in the walls. Don't love that. Stop it.
Yeah, me neither.
Stop it. So the owners decided to have the house exorcised numerous times. Unfortunately, apparently it didn't work. So Christina, after she heard this, she later said, quote, "Every single owner of the house has had trouble. The first one was Crawford. She built the majority of the house. It was a small cottage when she bought it, but most of the house she built. Every single family that has lived in that house has had horrible things happen. Illness, alcoholism, addictions, relationship problems, and now, evidently with the current owner, the walls are breaking out into flames. I've heard that in particular, it's the wall that was behind Crawford's bed." So while over the years, exorcists, ghost hunters, house healers have claimed to not sense Joan's presence in the house, many believe that the property the house was built on was somehow poisoned by vindictive spirits and that the evil was already in the house, and that led to Joan Crawford's neuroses and cruelty against her children. As Christina puts it, it would not surprise me in the least if the haunting spirit that is in that house is Joan Crawford. She was capable of real evil. And that is the story and the haunting of Joan Crawford. Also, it's a private residence, guys, like I said, so don't go there. Find the address, look it up, don't go there. And that is...
these nice people, they have fires to put out.
They have fires to put out, yeah.
Right.
And that is the crazy story of Joan Crawford and how she may have haunted the set of Mommy Dearest and now, maybe trapped in this crazy house that made her a little bit of a horrible person.
Not so. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
All right.
Yay. Okay.
Cool.
Yay.
All right.
Thanks.
My
Last
turn.
one.
That was really good.
Thank you.
Good story.
Thank you. I love Joan Crawford. I love that movie. I mean, now that I watch it as an adult, I'm like, oh my God, why did I love this movie when I was a child? I think just because it was so dramatic and, like I said, I just
Right, over the top.
super over the top. I love that kind of stuff, as you can tell by my jewels. I love over the top.
So shocking. Yeah, I think I saw it a long time ago, but honestly, like the specifics
the detail.
escape me. Now
I've seen it so.
Go back and like.
Oh, 1,000%. We absolutely should. I have watched it so many times. I think the last time I watched it, though, I was in high school. I think my friend Jennifer Montana and I watched it together. But yeah, it's a pretty crazy movie. I'll never forget that. She's wearing a blue robe and she's got a mask on her face, and her hair is pulled back in a headband, and she goes into the kid's closet to hang something up, and she was like, "What? No wire hangers." And I just thought, holy shit. That scene specifically affected me so much that I do not have wire hangers in my house. If we get clothes back from the dry cleaning, I throw the wire hangers immediately away, just because, I think that's one scene just affected me so much when I was so young when I watched that movie that I'm like, no wire hangers, my God. Even though my mom's like, I don't give a fuck. Whatever.
Hanger's a hanger.
Hanger's a hanger. Yeah. So, I don't know. That movie definitely did affect how I view hangers.
She has a fucking neurotic issue with him.
I have, yeah, they're all cheap plastic shit from Walmart. They're not like great satin hangers, but they're not wire. So there you have that.
That's all that matters.
All right, bring it on home. Tell us your final story.
So my final story is Brittany Murphy.
Yes! You're just a virgin who can't drive.
You got part of that right. Half credit.
Yeah, she's a virgin. She can super drive though.
And all right. Brittany Murphy.
Good.
All right. On December 20th, 2009, Brittany Murphy collapsed on the bathroom floor in the home where she lived with her mother Sharon and her husband Simon. She's so beautiful.
Mm-hmm.
A few hours later, around 10 a.m., she was pronounced dead at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center in LA. The clueless actress was only 32 years old, and her sudden death shocked Hollywood and the world.
Holy shit, 32? I didn't realize she was that young. I mean, she was young. Yeah.
She was only 17 when she filmed Clueless.
I fucking love that movie so much.
That's great.
I do. I love that movie so much. Paul Rudd. That was when I first saw Paul Rudd. And I was like, oh, he's so cute.
I love Paul Rudd.
I love Paul Rudd.
He hasn't aged a day since.
Not a fucking day since. And also, I don't give a fuck what he does. Ant-Man, I don't care. He is always going to be Mike Hannigan, Phoebe's husband. That is who he will always be to me. I don't care. I love him. He was absolutely perfect for Phoebe. And obviously everybody knows I'm a huge Friends fan. So I'm just stating that right now. Sexiest man alive. Phoebe's husband.
There you go.
Sorry. This is not about him. This is about Brittany Murphy. I apologize.
Your Paul Rudd diatribe is...
I just was like so excited about Clueless.
All right. So her death, prompted tons of rumors, speculation about her personal life, conspiracy theories about her death. All kinds of shit started flying around. There is a HBO documentary also about her. Apparently, I swear I didn't even know these were out there and until I picked these, and then I was like, oh, hey, look, there's more information.
Really? I didn't know there was a documentary.
Yeah, actually, I did watch this one. I only watched part of the Natalie Wood one, but in HBO Max's documentary, they say that the talented 8 Mile and Uptown Girls actress came up during a particularly cruel time for women in Hollywood.
Oh.
Yeah, as was widely discussed after Hulu's viral Britney Spears doc, Controlling Britney Spears, came out earlier this year. The late 90s and early 2000s were a time of extreme misogynist scrutiny in the media, heavy paparazzi surveillance, as well as the heyday of gossip bloggers like Perez Hilton.
Yeah, that guy.
In the series, Murphy's colleagues reflect on her desire to lose weight and change her hair color after she was told by Hollywood executives that she was not fuckable enough to be cast in lead film roles. I believe what they said was, I want to give you a hug, I don't want to fuck you, something like that. Just basically assholeness. Plus, she was gorgeous, whatever. So, but possibly worst of all, the culture gave way to an insecurity that left Murphy vulnerable to the charms of Simon Monjack, a man revealed to be a manipulative con artist.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So Murphy married Simon in 2007 after a failed intervention by her friends that showed her the evidence of his criminal history.
Oh, shit. So they intervened so that she'd break up with this dude?
Yeah, and she still married him.
Good for her, friends, because we have all had a friend where we wanted to do an intervention and be like, you need to drop this motherfucker stat.
Yeah, they tried.
Wow, that's interesting.
So he ended up moving in with her and her mom and began isolating Murphy from her friends.
I do remember that.
By disconnecting her phone lines, cutting off all access to her that did not go through him, and firing and taking on the roles of her manager, agent, and even makeup artist.
Yeah.
Yeah. An ex-girlfriend and mother of one of his children, a child Murphy never knew about, according to the series. testifies to his abusive, controlling behavior and serial lying. So Murphy was fired from the last movie she would ever shoot in November of 2009 after Monjack showed up to the set inebriated.
Oh,
Supposedly he hit someone, but
sure,
not for sure. So the following month is when she died. In the weeks that followed her death, Britney's mother Sharon and her husband Simon remained living together and made a very odd appearance on Larry King Live.
I remember that.
It's fucking so strange.
I remember that.
It's fucking weird.
Fucking watch it.
Soup's weird.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So during that appearance, they expressed the needlessness of an autopsy when they didn't really know why she died anyway, which is fucking weird. And then their behavior roused suspicion, obviously, because why wouldn't you do one? And they also said that they slept together in the same bed, like holding each other.
Yeah, I remember it was a very bizarre, almost inappropriate.
Yeah. And they
borderline.
Weird,
yeah.
Yeah, like the relationship is fucking strange. And then they did this mother and son-in-law photo shoot after her death. Have you seen these pictures? They're fucking weird too.
No.
Oh, they're so strange.
I'm looking them up right now. Keep talking.
Kind of holding each other and it's very creepy. The whole dynamic is really kind of off and off-putting.
What was her mom's name?
Sharon.
Okay.
It's my mom's name too. According to the coroner's report, Murphy died of pneumonia with contributing factors of iron deficiency, anemia, and multiple drug intoxication.
What drugs?
They're all prescription drugs and over-the-counter medication because she had fucking pneumonia. And so over the years, people have questioned the likelihood of a 32-year-old dying of pneumonia. And it was alleged that mold was growing in the house or that she was poisoned by her mother or husband. The mystery grew when Simon died less than 6 months after Britney.
Yes!
From pneumonia and anemia as well. He was 39. So the documentary basically debunks the conspiracy theories because a lab performed toxicology testing on Murphy's hair.
Hang on. Yes, I looked the pictures up and I don't know if we'll be able to see them on here, but this is just fucking weird.
Fucking weird.
That
whoa. So they're like, Simon's behind her holding like Sharon's shoulders and she's gazing up at him and he's gazing down at her. This
is the most disturbing one. There are way more.
Oh yeah, there's a ton.
This one is fairly innocuous. Like, this one's fairly okay.
Right, but they look more like something of a married couple, or like, why would you have it's just the whole fucking idea of even having a photo shoot after her death. Like, why? What is the purpose? I don't.
Yeah, then there's this one. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, where she has her head like resting on his shoulder, and they're like, he has his arm around her on the side. Yeah, it's weird.
This is another fucked up one. I can't stop. This is all we're gonna do is we're just gonna show you guys this.
Oh yeah, okay. So they're sitting and he has his arm around her and she's like holding his hand.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I don't love any of this. This is ridiculous.
It's really fucking weird.
It's really fucking weird, and I really liked her, Brittany, not a crazy weird mother
or husband. Okay, so
somebody don't get married, guys.
Her father filed suit against the LA coroner's office and the LAPD in 2012.
Okay.
And though they found that her hair contained dangerous amounts of lead, they determined that the lead came from her hairspray and her hair dye. And no lead or mold spores were found in her system during the autopsy that was actually performed because they had to.
Well, good.
The coroner interviewed in the series states that Britney likely would have survived had she been brought to the hospital in the days before her death. when she was suffering and complaining that she couldn't breathe. So Murphy's mother,
That's fucking
Sharon,
horrible.
has lived in seclusion since the death of her daughter.
Good, because you're fucking weird.
Right.
Unless she killed the husband in revenge. I'll let you finish the story.
All right. So the documentary explains how she was left with little after Simon died. She tried to sell some diamond jewelry that he had made for her and learned that it was all fake. So he was saying that he was like making investments for them, buying property, making jewelry, as investments with their money. But the jewelry was fake, the deeds were fake. And he had actually spent $3 million in 3 years.
How many fucking episodes of My Favorite Murder do we have to listen to before we understand he fucking did something to her? This is how that goes. Also, if you guys are going to try to kill me for this necklace, don't. It came from Charming Charlie, which was like $20. It's not.
It's as fake as the Simon Monjack necklaces.
It came from Simon Monjack.
So,
basically.
Sharon isn't in the documentary, and the last time she spoke publicly about the death of her daughter was in an open letter published by the Hollywood Reporter in 2013 when she wrote after Britney's father had basically claimed that she was poisoned and had that hair test done. So, quote, Angelo has shown he only wants to trade on Britney's life, career, and good reputation, even at the cost of putting a cloud over her memory, she wrote. She was my baby, and we stood together throughout Britney's life. Now I must stand up for her again. I want my Britney to be remembered as a darling person she was, for the giant talent she showed the world and left behind in her movie and TV appearances, and for the friendships and loving relationships that really were part of her life. So,
okay.
A couple things that I will bring up. There were 90 prescription bottles on Simon's nightstand.
For her?
There were pills all over the house. Basically, and it was well known. Perez Hilton even made jokes about it. Everybody knew that they were high as fuck. If you look at some of her later appearances, you can tell that she's intoxicated on something, right? So,
ugh, I hate to hear this.
Also, I know. She did have prescription drugs in her system.
Okay. So do I, but not 90.
Me too. That's how obviously they were getting them, not just through their names, from aliases, all kinds of stuff. So we know that there was abuse of prescription drugs going on.
1,000%.
Also, it is impossible for someone to be as anemic as she was if you ate food. She was not eating. She was starving herself. You can tell how thin she got as time went on. Dangerously thin. And it's very sad.
I really loved her.
I know. She's so great.
Yeah.
Well, people talk about that house having a dark history.
Okay.
So she had lived in that house for less than 6 years with Simon. And months later, after Sharon found Simon in the same bathroom, in the same house, died in the same way.
In the same way, yeah.
Yeah, which was of acute pneumonia and severe anemia.
There are no coincidences, certainly none like this.
Yeah, and I think that's what fueled everything, but I think he probably they were both sick. Then neither of them were eating and just taking prescriptions.
And you can see in these pictures, he's kind of a portly dude.
Yes, he is. He was.
So that unless it started right around the time she died, because he died 6 months later. I can't imagine how somebody that healthy looking could die without some sort of, just not eating. Maybe, sure, but he doesn't look like he could pass up a meal.
Right, he doesn't look like he was skipping all the meals.
Yeah, so
I'm with you.
Okay, good.
But, a lot of people have, when they're grieving and stuff like that, they don't eat very much, kind of like a breakup diet, But
Sure.
I know I have had that issue when I was grieving.
Do we think that he was in that kind of mindset? Honestly.
I don't know.
I don't think so. The way he was controlling her?
Yeah. So it is unusual to have two people die of similar circumstances with pneumonia. LA County Assistant Chief Coroner Ed Winter told ABC News at the time.
Oh, I love that guy.
I've been looking at it and saying something isn't right. I'm not saying you can't get pneumonia from mold, but we did all the tests. Mold did not come up in the toxicology report.
Yeah.
So it wasn't mold. Simon's mom, however, did tell the Daily Mail that her son had found mold in the home before he died, and he was also having hallucinations.
Okay.
Quote, all I know is that before Simon's death, he was having hallucinations that things were crawling out of his skin. Also known to happen in drugs.
Or if you murdered your wife and she was fucking haunting you.
These things happen. Before his death, Monjack told the Hollywood Reporter that his wife didn't like the house. She absolutely hated the Rising Glen house, he said. Every time we would drive up Sunset, Britt would say, please, can we stay at the Beverly Hills Hotel? I'd say, honey, you've got to be realistic. We have our house, a 10,000 square foot home. We're going to stay in it. Right. So while all of this is kind of weird, Britney Spears also had a weird experience in the home. Her former makeup artist, Julianne Kay, said...
I'm sorry, you said Britney Spears?
Yeah, it was Britney Spears' house before.
Oh, okay.
Ooh. So, on the We Need to Talk About Britney podcast, so this makeup artist said, I had my friend do Reiki healing on her, meaning Britney Spears. He had come up, I guess. She'd had a crazy partying weekend and needed to relax. He left, and she swears to God that he opened some spirit portal or something, and these bad spirits had come in, and they were trying to, push her down the stairs or something crazy. So Kay said that the experience was so bad that she left. She went to the Casa del Mar Hotel to stay there and never went back to the house. Kay also said that Britney told her, I know you're going to think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy. I know what I saw. I know what I felt. So Britney Spears, who saw that? Then Britney Spears had the house before Brittany Murphy.
What year was this? Do you know?
I'm not sure, to be honest.
So she lived in that house for 6 years. When did she die? Brittany Murphy?
2010, I think.
Okay, so
2009.
She died in 2009. Mm-hmm. So she had the house since 2003.
So this is kind of like crazy Britney time.
Well, Britney didn't go crazy until 2007.
How do you know that? You're on, it's on my calendar.
I sent her a card when her conservatorship ended. No, I'm a fan of Britney Spears. I really remember when she had such public meltdowns, and it was 2007.
Seems about right.
So, if they had the house for 6 years, it was pre Britney's meltdown, though, by years. So that's why I was like, yeah. Anyway, free Britney. Hashtag.
Well, she is free now.
Yay! Free Amanda Bynes. Yay!
So, according to TMZ, former Murphy bestie Taryn Manning was DJing when she decided to give a shout out to Murphy during Lose Yourself by Eminem.
Taryn Manning, as in Orange is the New Black Taryn Manning?
Yeah, she was also in 8 Mile, so they were friends.
Okay.
But just as she brought up her deceased friend's name, the music shut off and the DJ software shut down, leaving Manning to reach the only obvious conclusion that Brittany Murphy's ghost had appeared to say hi and maybe also hated the song Lose Yourself.
I like it.
Yeah, but Murphy's ghost has been spotted all over Hollywood recently. In January, she delivered a message through Hollywood Medium host Tyler Henry, her former friend.
Stop it.
Jamie Presley.
Really?
Yeah. So the ghost of Brittany Murphy has a very active social life, apparently. Still going on in Hollywood.
Good for her.
Getting out there.
What was the message?
Oh, I don't know. I didn't look it up.
Oh my God. I'm like, and what did she say?
She said, help.
He did it. He did it.
He won't leave me alone. He even followed me.
Dude.
Yeah, I mean, the shit that he did is just crazy. Like, the people, even that she worked with, couldn't even reach her without, like, she didn't even have her own cell phone. She didn't answer her own email address. Like, the same thing he did to her mom, too. Like, there's a lot.
What that, I mean, I can kind of see. Why was that, what was it going on with that mom?
So preventable. So preventable.
1000%. Okay, hang on. I'm looking this up because you didn't have an answer for it. Now I'm like, I gotta know what she told Tyler Henry. Hang on.
Bad podcaster.
I mean, we admit we are. Shortly after, she was friends with Britney before she married him. This is Jamie Presley. Hang on. 20-year-old Tyler Henry. We have a younger woman who's stepping forward to say she feels like she passed away too soon, and when she's coming through, she's making my lungs hurt quite a bit. She's blaming an outside influence and saying she was in a very manipulative situation.
There you go.
Wow.
The documentary is, it's not too long. It's like 2 episodes. But it's, I mean, if you're interested in knowing the ins and outs, it was good. Yeah. It was 1000%. Well done. So, there you go.
Wow. Great job.
Oh, thanks. It's just so sad.
It is super sad.
Young and
I loved her.
I mean, Natalie Wood too, but Brittany Murphy was in her 30s, kind of in her prime, or could.
Yeah, and I mean, as we start to
on her downslide, but
go on, that was a difficult time for actresses and stars. That was when Harvey Weinstein was just really going nuts.
Yeah, that's big time. Like stuff like that was happening.
Yeah.
Super unchecked.
Yeah. This was really good. This was really cool. I had no idea. I mean, I knew the basics of it, but again, great job. Also, your cat is real mad at you.
I know.
He wanted to be in this episode. He texted me, and here you are leaving him outside the door.
I'm so mean.
How do you feel about that?
I'm sure he'll be fine. He's with me like literally almost 24/7.
He's kind of obsessed. So, it's fine.
A little bit.
Yeah.
A little bit.
Who's not obsessed with you?
Spoiled as well.
Yeah.
Very spoiled.
Anyway. Well, great job. I loved it. This was a fun one. Thank you.
It was super fun. I really enjoyed it.
Yeah, I did too.
Sad stories, but
sad stories. Yeah. You did more topical recent ones. I have a whole fucking book here. Where is it? Here.
Dude, I love the old Hollywood stuff, the bombshells, like all of it. So
I have a whole book here, Haunted Hollywood. I'm like, we can do more. It's fine. Yeah, I thought this was a lot of fun. I liked getting dressed up. I thought it was a lot of fun to get, put on our snazziest duds, because we don't ever get the opportunity to do that. And then, do you know anything about the films and actors nominated this year? I don't know.
No.
I don't know anything.
I know Kristen Stewart was nominated for Princess Diana.
For Spencer, yeah. I watched it. Huge fan of the royal family. Didn't love the show. There's something about Kristen Stewart's acting where she's just very, nervous and just sort of...
she always just seems like a chihuahua that piddled the carpet.
Kind of, yeah. She was like that in Twilight, and she's like this in Spencer. I didn't see any of the grace, and I was very good friends with Diana in a former life. I'm kidding, guys. I'm kidding. I saw a lot of Bella Swan in her performance of Princess Diana.
Yeah,
So,
I do like Kristen Stewart, but yeah, I was surprised by the choice. I did see the pictures, and she looks
like her.
Transformed in her.
Sure.
God.
But she blinks. I think she blinks too much, I think is what my issue is.
You have a lot of issues with a lot of actors, so that you're just like, no.
Yeah. I don't know of anybody else. I think Benedict Cumberbatch has been nominated for something. I think.
Oh, cool. He was great in Sherlock Holmes.
Oh my God, he's amazing as Doctor Strange.
Yes.
Yeah. Otherwise, I don't know.
To be honest, I have no idea.
Me either.
Since I watch everything on streaming and.
Me too. Which, by the way, Spider-Man: No Way Home is streaming on Amazon.
Oh, is it? Cool. Yeah. I have not seen that one either.
My mom and I have been waiting.
I didn't see the new Matrix. I didn't see
any of the original Matrixes.
Yeah. Oh, you didn't?
Mm-mm. Well, here's why. We got super high one night when the first one came out on VHS. And I was way too high to fucking follow the story. I was like, red pill, blue pill. What is happening? Why is this
that part I relate to? I don't understand the rest.
Basically, I'm like, I don't get why this is why. I'm sorry, we made 4 of these. I couldn't follow it the first time, so I wasn't even gonna try to bother. But that's why.
Yeah, there's yeah,
I don't know.
Good movies out. I'm just wickedly behind.
Me too. Yeah, for sure. Anywho, I have no strange history tonight, guys. And I guess that's that on that. Laura, do you want to?
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. Please, Laura, tell them where they can follow us.
You may follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at HOAH Podcast.
Yes, you may. And
you can follow us on the TikTok at HOAH Podcast, at HOAH Carrie, and at HOAH co-host Laura.
Yes, you can. Very excited about that. So anyway, guys, thanks for watching this special Oscars edition of History of a Haunting. Remember, Andrea Perrin is going to be on our show. That drops April 9th. Also, Entity Voices Paranormal Evidence, Tony and Cherie Rathman, Chris Allgood, and Audra Keeler are going to be on our show where we discuss all things haunted Bisbee, Arizona on April 2nd. And we're going to Trans-Allegheny. We're sponsoring Dirt Days. We're going to Pennhurst Asylum. We're going to Bresci Mountain. Bresci Mountain.
Yeah.
We got lots of stuff and lots of things.
We're also going to have our unnamed at this point Tiny Minis coming out here, and I think the next week.
Yes.
For those.
Our little snack size ones where we talk about all kinds of weird fucking crazy stories.
Our little snack bites.
And honestly, it's a lot of major cities that spill alcohol needlessly.
Lots of all kinds of fun and interesting stories.
Yeah. So yeah, we'll be looking forward to that. We've got guests coming on. We've got a lot coming for you guys. And please consider joining us and supporting us on Patreon, patreon.com/HOAH podcast. We do have 2 donor levels, $2 Cheers Clink and $5 Snort Laugh in honor of our founder, Archie Bays. We send you goodies and we give you early episodes and we do exclusive content and we do all kinds of fun stuff. So come join us and we would certainly appreciate the support. HOAH podcast on Patreon. And I believe that's all the shameless plugs I have to say. Also, Charming Charlie no longer sells this, so don't break into my house to try and steal it.
I'll try to keep myself in line.
Thank you. I appreciate it. I know how you love diamonds. I know how you love to wear chunky diamond necklaces.
Bitch, you think if I had a real chunky diamond necklace,
fuck yeah, I
don't give a shit what it looks like.
You guys, we might be in a Christmas parade this year, and she's trying to overthrow the Christmas queen with the biggest fucking crown ever. She got goals.
I got goals.
Anyway, we love you. Thank you so much. This episode ended up being about 1 hour and 45, almost 2 hours long. which was kind of surprising, but we've been bullshitting a lot. So anyway, as we say here at History of Haunting, we love you guys. Stay safe out there because you never know who
or what Hollywood star.
Haha, dude is listening. Bye, guys.
Bye.